Hey guys, Frightener22 here, back again with another Cinema Sickness Daily Servings review. Today we're going to take a look at a recent comedy from the talent of Judd Apatow. So we're going to be taking a peek at 2005's The 40-Year-Old Virgin. Now this film centers on Steve Carell, who plays obviously a 40-year-old virgin who's obsessed with toy collecting, video games, and works at an electronics store. So obviously everything is on his mind except sex. It isn't until that a few of his co-workers, played by Seth Rogen and Paul Rudd, discover his secret and try to get him laid throughout the entire comedy. And eventually he meets a woman that's really up to his par, played by Catherine Kinnear, and how his virginity is going to affect his life and his soon-to-be relationship with her. Now, this is the feature film debut of Judd Apatow, who's been, a big writer in Hollywood. He's been, responsible for giving us Freaks and Geeks. I believe he co-wrote and produced The Cable Guy, so he's been around. He was involved with that movie Heavyweights in the mid-90s, but it wasn't until 2005 with this film that he actually directed a feature film. Now, this film, out of all of Judd Apatow's actual directed films, this one, Knocked Up and Funny People, this is hands down my favorite of his. It's just, being a big movie fan and a big movie geek myself, I just kind of relate to Steve Carell's character, and I just like, the hobbies. Like, it's kind of funny seeing the opening shots, and anytime, like, the camera is within his apartment, and I see, like, a million things in there that I myself own. He kind of owns the same kind of collectibles that I own, so I'm sure many movie geeks and toy collectibles kind of relate with that, because they can just pick apart a million different things that they see in his apartment that they themselves own. So I kind of like that. The humor in this, a lot of the comedy was actually improvised on set, and I think the more improvised scenes in this film are where the best comedy in it lies, such as, there's a scene between Seth Rogen's character and Paul Rudd's character where they are playing video games and they're kind of insulting each other with how they know each other is gay, and that scene was completely improvised, and that's one of the funnier scenes in the entire movie. So it's scenes like that that just have a real, improvisational spirit to them that really just call for the biggest laughs in it. Overall, like I said, this is hands down my favorite Apatow film from, his whole directorial canon. But, there are definitely some things about it, especially going back to it tonight. I haven't watched this film in a few years, but after going back to it tonight, I did kind of pick up, and this seemed to be the same issue that I had with Knocked Up, and especially Funny People. And, this isn't, a comment that, is kind of an irrelevant one. People kind of think that talking about on too long of a movie is kind of a a BS comment to make about it, but it does kind of apply to the films of Judd Apatow, because the laughs are coming, but especially in this film where the unrated cut is over 2 hours, it kind of runs its course. By the third act of this one, you're kind of tired of the concept, and I just kind of want to get them to, the closing of it, and because we all know how it's going to resolve anyway, but it's just that just kind of seems to be the ongoing trend and kind of a downfall with Apatow's things, that he packs comedy, but then, at the same time, he'll try and, weave in some heavy-handed drama, which is, you can easily be seen in Funny People, where that was just way, way more dramatic than comedy. So that's the route that he chose to do with that one. So this one, although this kind of has, the lower end of drama and it's much more comedy, it's kind of that weaving and the, kind of just going a little too long for its own good that kind of hurts the film towards the end, and you're just kind of, you're kind of tired of the concept by this time. But that's just a minor kind of complaint for an overall, pretty decent adult-themed comedy. I think the performances by Steve Carell and Paul Rudd and Seth Rogen are hilarious. They're great. I mean, it's always great when, a talent such as Judd Apatow discovers somebody, like Seth Rogen, and gives him, an opportunity in like his first feature film. So, you know, it was really, after Freaks and Geeks, it was really this film that really continued to bring somebody like Rogen to the masses. And, you know, scattered throughout this film, there's, you know, small appearances by people that are huge today, such as Elizabeth Banks and Jonah Hill. So it's kind of cool to watch this film, even knowing it's only like 6 or 7 years old now, and you kind of see these really small cameo roles and just how big these people are now. It's pretty incredible. But overall, this is definitely a really worthwhile adult-themed comedy that has its raunchy moments, but overall offers some really, really incredible and funny laughs. So, yeah, this is definitely a great comedy that should be seen at least once, and you know, it's definitely just goes to show that Apatow is a really talented writer-director. He's definitely got, you know, knows what's going to make people laugh, and that in and of itself, by today's standards, is a really important thing, because a lot of comedies come out, and I'm sure the people behind it think they're going to be these big, hilarious hits, and they really just fall by the wayside, and they are quickly forgotten. But Apatow's you know, appearance in not only the comedy genre, but just Hollywood in general is, you know, a really big deal, because he really is a big, you know, strong force in comedy now, that he truly does know what's funny. So that said, the 40-year-old version is hands down his best directed film, so I recommend you checking it out just based on that alone, and the performances by Steve Carell and the rest of the great cast in this. Well, guys, that's all I got for you tonight. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another Cinema Sickness Daily Servings review, and I'll catch you there. Thanks again for tuning in. This is Frightener22.